introductory lectures, please feel free to ask. Just some technical points. The pre-recorded lectures that we intended to post, myself giving them in Marathi, Ramiz giving them in Hindi. On my end, I managed to fail technically, and I'm having some difficulties. So I hope to have them up by later this evening, and also with some problem sets. And in addition, some links to some resources, maybe some additional lecture notes and online resources you can look at. Although the lectures are meant to be self-contained, I understand that it's nicer to have some sort of, Yes. Can everybody see me? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So indeed, we will on the website by this weekend. There will be a big resource toolkit for you to follow the material at whatever level you feel comfortable with. Of course, the most basic level is what we will cover. But if you're more ambitious and you want to read ahead, we encourage that, and so we'll have more resources for that. So let me first just leave the floor open if anybody wants to unmute or I don't know if you can, or just maybe stick up your hand and we can answer any questions you may have. Ramiz, do you have anything to add?
No, except that the Hindi version of the first 2 lectures, I expect to have it done in maybe 2 weeks' time, because I'm taking, my Hindi is not the best, so I'm taking somebody's help on this matter.
Yes, and full confession, unless you want a very Maharashtrian version of Hindi, I shouldn't be giving the recordings either. Yes. So please, if you have any questions, if you want to, if you want to give us some feedback on what we've done so far, maybe you want to tell us whether the material is not advanced enough or it's too advanced. We're here in service of you. So we're here to deliver something that you will find useful. I think the biggest sort of structural development that may have happened since the introductory lectures is Ramiz and I have decided that we will try and organize for the next module, which will involve coding. So we will try to set up resources there for you to learn coding by yourselves. Maybe what we will do is we'll try to organize student groups. So separately from us, maybe before the next module's lectures begin, you can get together. For those of you who are not familiar with Python and basic programming languages, to become familiar with it. And the ultimate goal, I think, maybe even if you like a sort of a fun practical exam, of course, there's no grading, towards the end of the next module, is we will actually try to organize a hackathon where we will try to get real problems from real companies or organizations, and we will organize a hackathon. We'll work in groups, and the goal will be to try and solve some real problem. And of course, for those people who are interested in having something to show in terms of a portfolio, the output of this, could count as that. So that's our ambition. We have a long way to go. The introductory lectures are primarily just meant to fix concepts and work through some basic definitions involving probability and statistics in with as minimal fuss as possible. And so the goal really at the end of the second module is for you to be almost, if you like, battle ready for real world problems. And then the final module will be very advanced, but the goal is to organize things in such a way that if you start from the introductory lectures, you can, by yourself get to that level. And that is, if you like, even beyond day-to-day. So you see what happens with most applications of data science for most real-world situations is you can do a lot with very little. You can actually, Jai Bhim, good evening, everybody. You can actually do a lot with just some very basic reasoning. I think maybe I will give you an example a little later after, I don't want to just keep talking. I want to hear from you. I want to find out more about you, what you're interested in. But what I wanted to say is that a lot can be done with very little. And that's sort of what we will try to show you at the end of the first module or the second module where we assume coding, and or we will teach you coding, or we will learn it together. Because I confess, I'm not somebody that deals with coding that much in my daily life, but I have to learn. So I have to brush up myself. After that second module is over, that where we actually work out real problems, culminating in ending with a hackathon. The advanced module will be really at a very high level, in the sense that after that you could, by some measure, consider yourself a real data scientist. And if you decide to pursue this as an education or a career, you certainly have all the conceptual tools. Now all you need at that point is a piece of paper from some college or some university that says that you're a data scientist. Unfortunately, this is just how the world works. Digital Nalanda is not a degree granting institution, although maybe one day in the future. The way education is changing very rapidly over the last few years, maybe this is something we can think about. So yes, so please just, if anybody has any questions, just raise your hands and ask. Otherwise, I'm interested in actually hearing. Yes, Modish, let me unmute you. Modish, please ask.
Good evening, Sir Jai Bhim.
Jai Bhim.
Sir, actually, I have two or three questions to ask. So one is that you said in previous slide that the probability is in tossing a coin is half is tail, half is positive, but it is not exactly 0.5. So you said that there is a possibility of cheating people. Somebody can cheating if one plays the game like this. So I couldn't understand that. One is this question. Second is it is not related to the what you said, but it is somewhat. I feel it is related to the this probability and this set theory. I was reading an article related to my own study. There was a thing called fuzzy set. So those were saying those fuzzy sets was about to describe some factors, and they have some sub factors also. So they were also trying to do some kind of integration in that with Schottky integration. So what could be that? And if you can answer that. And one more thing is that what is this probit model, sir? Sir, if you can answer, then it's fine.
Sorry,
otherwise,
I'm okay. What's the last question?
Last question was there was I also found a probit model. What could be that in probit model? Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I'd have to see what you're referring to. There's many models out there.
Okay.
But let me try and answer the first question. Or maybe Ramiz would like to take a stab at it.
No, I can. After you answer the question, I can add something.
Yeah. So the remember that the coin toss is just used as an example to introduce some basic ideas.
Okay.
And it's not meant to be taken literally. It's just a way to easily introduce certain concepts. And the idea is that if you flip a coin, if it's a fair coin, as in it's a coin that you find on the street, it will half the time land on one side and half the time on the other. There's no that's just how it is. But the problem we're posing is, imagine you didn't know that, okay? And imagine somebody decided to make that not the case. Maybe they can coat one side with lots of metal, make it heavier on one side. So in fact, it's weighted. So most of the time you flip it, it'll land on the heavier side.
Okay.
And the question is, let's say nobody told you whether this coin is fair or not. How would you find out? How would you do? You would have to do an experiment. You'd have to do trials. And this was just meant as a mechanism to introduce concepts like sample variance. So in the example that we covered in the lecture, what happens is if you keep flipping a coin, in fact, you will hardly, it's very rare that you will find after, let's say, the average of 1,000 flips, that it'll land half the time in one and half the time the other. In fact, there's going to be some fluctuations. And this is known as sample variance.
Okay.
And so in fact, this is actually one of the ways in which you can tell if some data has been faked, is if it looks too perfect. Okay. Normally, you expect to see some anomalies, things that you can't explain. This is the nature of statistical fluctuation. Now, your second question, I think we're trying to avoid advanced mathematical concepts in the introductory lecture. This is supposed to be very basic, and as we stated, it's only meant to involve nothing more than standard 10 mathematics. Now,
okay, sir. Fine.
No problem. We're very happy to answer more advanced questions. Now, fuzzy sets is not something I'm familiar with. Ramiz, do you know much about them?
Yeah, I mean, it shows up in a class of problems called fuzzy logic broadly, where you don't have, just Boolean, like, so this also goes into his third question, the probit. In the future modules, definitely in the second module, but you will be introduced to these concepts you actually already have been introduced to these concepts. You'll be learning about regressions, which is about fitting a curve to a sequence of data points on a x-axis versus y-axis, or predicting a series. So you have, for example, the GDP of a country for the last 15 years, and you want to predict what its GDP will look like in the next year. And these are a class of problems that are tackled by a broad class of methods called regressions. And a specific case of those regressions is used to, for example, give you probabilities on things out of which the outcome is really binary. So exactly like tossing a coin, or if you apply for a loan, you either get the loan or you get rejected. You don't get a middle value of the loan. That is not a possible outcome. So for such situations, using predictive logic or regressions, the probit is a method to do that. And fuzzy logic is, for example, is a method used to introduce additional uncertainty when you have a model like that. So, maybe the bank wants to decide, the bank that is trying to decide whether you should be given a loan or not wants to have a third condition wherein instead of just outright rejecting you, they want to send it to a separate team and who will spend more time evaluating it. So how to go from these simple binary models towards a more refined decision-making process will always require something known as, if you think about it in a very mathematical way, will require fuzzy logic, fuzzy sets. If you want a formal definition for it, I can answer that maybe in the last 5 minutes of when I give the next to next lecture. But at this level, this is maybe a sufficient answer. I'm not sure. Does that answer your question, Modish?
You can unmute yourself, Modish, and you still have your hand up. So if you have a follow-up question, please just ask.
No, sir. Thank you, sir. You have answered, but I wanted to just know the basic idea. So formal definition we can deal with that, but it's okay, sir. Fine. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you both.
We encourage you to ask us things like this, because for us, then it tells us, it gives us information as to what might be interesting for some of you to learn more about. So we're very happy to tune our approach as we go forward.
Yeah, sir. I will in next classes I will bring something like this, because I am also dealing with this. I have to prepare for my PhD thesis. I have just joined. It has become only 2 or 3 months back. So I am just getting into this data. So I am just becoming acquainted with
Of
this.
course.
So I
What
will,
is your PhD
I'll-
thesis on?
sir,
What is your-
I am trying. I'm topic is not yet decided, but I am planning in something infrastructure projects.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, yeah, yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
So Kiran, you have your hand up. Please unmute yourself and ask. Kiran Wagmare, your hand is up. Please just unmute yourself and ask your question. Does anybody have any other questions? Because otherwise we can just continue chatting.
So maybe what I would recommend, I mean, anytime you have a question, just raise your hand. But since we got some, pretty advanced questions early on, it would be nice to know what is the level of all the people who are currently connected here, because I would assume that connecting for the first question answer session, you're going to be the most committed students. And so you're really the ones we should keep most in mind when we proceed with this course. And thus, it would be nice if all of you could tell us, either type it out into the chat, like what is your current level of education that is relevant to what we are trying. So or feel free to would you like me to take this in order from top? Maybe Harshal could unmute yourself, and is that okay, Subodh, or do you think
Yeah, please. No, I think part of what I'd like to do is actually just to meet you and learn more about you. So please, so Harshal, can you just tell us a bit about yourself and why you're interested in this course? Harshal, are you there?
Hello, sir. Jabim. Am I audible to you?
Yes, we can hear you. Please. So we would like to know. Just tell us about yourself. Why you're interested in this course?
Yes, sir. I have completed my graduation in electronics engineering. After that, I have worked on several projects which is related to C++ and basic Arduino language program. So that time I was very curious about the data science. Whenever any exam happen in our country, that there is a number of student exams is going and their scores and the basic course, like they are getting normalization and the data is stored in our one server. So how can they structure it and how can they work on it? So I just want to know that how can we deal with it, and how nowadays data science is very important, and it will be in 2-3 years it will be on top of technology. Means it will be very important for us to learn. So that's why I just want to be a part of data science.
Yeah, thank you. So I think someone like yourself with your background, I think you will probably find the first introductory module to be quite basic, although some of the concepts may still be new to you. So I think in your case it'll be quite straightforward to come to get up to speed. And I think you'll probably start having more non-trivial, more if you like. Um, you're essentially probably already quite ready to start what would be the second module once we get around to it. But indeed, I mean, let me just take this opportunity to tell you, real world examples of things that might be relevant that this course will try and do. And what we're really trying to do is get you to. We're going to teach you a bunch of tools, but moreover, we want to teach you just a sort of the art of thinking about numbers and large sets of numbers. And so, I'll give you an example of a real problem that we could even try to tackle. So let's say there's some website, and the website is asking, it's trying to rank the users according to some criteria. So let's say you have some social media site and you have some way you want to rank your users, how much they interact, how whether they like something or whether they post about something. And let's say you want to give benefits to those users in some way. Then the question is, how do you do it? And so typically what you'll find is that there's super users. There are people that really are just complete outliers. And then there's sort of the average user, which sort of doesn't interact as much as you would like, and you want to get them to interact more. And then there's people that are basically inactive, because lots of people just log on to a website and then never touch it again. So if you just had the data from the users, then and then you try to do some manipulation from it, you will find that in fact, it's very hard to do anything concrete because the population is actually split into three, right? There's almost inactive users, the average user, and then the super users. And so in order to come up with a metric, you have to be very careful. You have to be very mindful of this sort of extremeness of these different possibilities. Nevertheless, there's tricks that you can use, such as the logarithm, for instance. That's a way to take a big spread in a certain metric, in a certain number, and make it more manageable. And so this really requires thinking on your part. And so these are sort of the simple examples that we could go through of how to apply the knowledge of statistics and the data manipulation that we hope to learn, we hope to pass on in this lecture, and work out some really practical applications, in a real context. So yes, indeed, I think your mathematical background is probably sufficient to, your coding background is probably sufficient to jump immediately to the next module. I think part of the tension that we have to be mindful of as the course coordinators is that there are the formal online lectures which involves interaction with students, but these lectures are also going to be online for anybody to come and see. So we really do have to stick to some sort of a train that begins very basic and then gets very advanced, but slowly. Well, not necessarily slowly, but in a way that's sequential and makes the ideas and the formalism connects. And so what we hope to do is, although we're saying that this begins with assuming nothing more than 10 standard mathematics, the concepts that we saw already in the first lecture are very, very advanced. And I think we left at a point, the next lecture on Monday begins with applying Bayes' theorem to the COVID-19 pandemic. And there, I don't think, I think, no matter how, unless you've already taken a course on data science, I think no matter what your background is, you're going to learn something quite interesting and surprising, hopefully. So, thank you for letting us know. So let's keep moving. So, Dhanashri, could you please unmute yourself and tell us about yourself and why you're interested in this course? Dhanashri Wankere, if you could please unmute yourself. Yes, so please tell us about yourself and why you're interested in the course. We can't hear you if you're speaking because although it says you're unmuted, there's no audio coming through.
Yeah, sir. I'm talking from Digital Nalanda.
Yeah.
Dhanashri itself.
Oh, okay. So are you taking the course as well, or are you just coordinating?
Yeah. No. I've taken this course. So I'm done my engineering in computer science as a computer science. So I know little bit coding, that's C++ and C language, and little bit database. So I want to know more about it, and I want to go for data science.
Okay, very nice. So presumably Python will be very easy for you.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be much easier for you, and so I think so what we will maybe even try and do when we get to the second module is to allow for students to take on problems of different complexity depending on their coding background. So we can try and design a multi-stream second module. So obviously, if you know C and C++, you could probably do some quite advanced stuff with the coding.
Okay.
But good.
Thank
so
you.
we sincerely hope that by the end of the second module, we'll be working on real world problems. For those of you who are interested in developing a CV or a portfolio to take to higher education or to companies even to hire you straight up, this will be an interesting vehicle for it. I think very often what happens is when we take case studies based on real companies and real problems, if they're willing to share their data with us, and I think a lot of them, well, certainly some of them should be, I think it can often sometimes even be a nice way to introduce yourself to the people in that company and even maybe get some sort of an internship or maybe even a job. We're every industry is different, so it's unclear to me how it actually works. Ramesh, do you have anything to add about?
No, not really. Sorry. Maybe Kiran Wagmare, you could tell us about what you are hoping to get from this course. And
she's already spoken. If I'm not mistaken, we already heard from Kiran.
Hello.
Yes.
Jai Bhim, sir. So I have completed my engineering in BA, and I want, and before that I have also learned about some C++ programming, and now I have shifted from engineering background to social field, and there I'm doing research on some qualitative based research and quantitative based research. And where I have come around that when we come across large amount of data, then it gets very difficult to analyze that data. So so that is why I am interested in pursuing this, and I am expecting that from this course that I will get uh, some information related to like how to analyze a big amount of data while doing research or while analyzing that data. So,
But by big amount of data, how big are you talking? Like in terabytes? Or if it is in like a table, number of rows into number of columns, how many rows or columns are you talking about?
I cannot say exact number, but like you are also like you have also experience regarding large amount. You can hypothetically think about that, like how you can uh, guide me on this. Like
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so, the ability to go through data is really proportional to the amount of computation power you have and what you want to do. And so with a laptop, you can do a certain amount of data, like depending upon how much time you are spending. It is of the order of, let's say, 1 terabyte. If you need to process 100 terabytes of data and you need to do it in a day, and then you need what is called time on what is called a cluster. These are like dedicated computers people maintain where they put a large number of processors together, etc. So I just want to get an idea of.
I think Ramiz, you're thinking too much like a scientist here. I think for let's say you downloaded all data for 7, so you can do this. You can go on, let's say, as a sociologist or working in social sciences, you're dealing with population data, and this is manageable on a laptop. I think you can download, for instance, the entire data for all Facebook users to see, whether they're connected or not. And this is something you can, and this is for 700 million people. This is at least in 2011 where they last publicly released this data, and this is stuff you can definitely manipulate on your laptop. Now, obviously, the better the laptop you have, the more efficiently you can do it. But I think in your case, primarily the skill that you will probably have to, if you're really applying it to social sciences, and is how to cleaning your data and making it usable. This is going to be a big part of the second module. I think most of manipulating data is making it usable,
and also visualizing.
Yeah, and making it useful. Yes. So maybe we can actually work through some examples relevant to you in the second module. But I think just with a laptop, I think you're okay. I think what Ramiz is referring to is if you have the results of some scientific so maybe something like genetics, and this is also things that you should be able to do with data science. But I think if you're in the social sciences, chances are the data sets you're dealing with are not going to be of the order that Ramiz is referring to. Although if you go into a field like bioinformatics, then it becomes different. And by the way, bioinformatics is a very developing and advanced field, especially there's lots of opportunities in India. And you don't need to be a biologist to actually be a bioinformatician. You just need to be a good data scientist. Of course, you have to understand what you're doing, but the level to which you have to understand it does not require a specialized degree in biology.
okay.
And so these are all so it really depends on what your interested applications are. But I think in your case, if it's social sciences, so you're dealing with census data, or the results of some survey, or maybe some website gives you some information about this is a fairly manageable amount. And I think, but it also becomes much dirtier. It becomes much more, the data is much more, it requires much more cleaning. It's the output of scientific, the output of scientific experiments, and they tend to be, they also have to be clean, but they are a bit more under, you can control, the variables are more under control. Whereas, for things like, the outputs, let's say the results of a survey, this is really takes a really long time to clean and requires some very, very detailed techniques. So these are all things that, we'll try and cover.
Okay. Yes. Yes, I think I have understood. Thank you, sir, for your guidance.
Mujahid Shah, do you want to tell us about yourself?
Mujahid, please unmute yourself and tell us about yourself. And
yes, sir.
of course,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sir, I have just completed my biotechnology, sir, BSc, and I just wanted to know more about how data science is work actually, and I just wanted to see my future as a data scientist in biotechnology research. And sir, how actually I also get to know that how machine learning is work with data science, and how many types of data we can work on it, and what is the resource of data we can collect from, and this all about, sir, that's I want to know more about.
Yeah, so I think so machine learning will be the next, if you like, even course in this school. So so this is after we complete the 3 modules, or maybe it can be done in parallel. So machine learning is something that we definitely hope to add to the school. And the thing is, the formalism, the mathematics you need is a bit more advanced than what you would need to even teach the basics of this course. And so we thought that we'd do it in this order, so that you understand, the basic formula, the basic mathematical structures that will reappear. Yes, indeed. So the applications of machine learning, are everywhere. If you're interested in, working for, to take your education and work for a pharmaceutical company, or some sort of a biotech startup or something like this, then there's a lot of applications. I think bioinformatics is a huge field, but I think things like designing drugs and designing new treatments involves studying the basics of this process called protein folding. And it's a very complicated process. It's just how proteins, combine in different ways to make organic molecules that make up, the DNA, essentially, and the RNA that make up most of our cells. And this is so hard, we actually have no idea how to even write down anything analytic, if you like, theoretical for it. So we just sort of work empirically. We just do experiments, and machine learning actually helps people to identify simple models that they can use to try and figure out what's happening. So the applications to bioinformatics, to biomedicine is quite a lot. And but I think so indeed there are 2 separate subjects, data science and machine learning, but they really feed into each other. At least there's a lot of data science that goes into machine learning. So it's nice to know that these are your interests, because I think so let me give you a taste of just how data science and statistics has revolutionized biology over the last 10 years. I don't know if you've heard of this there's this stupid controversy in India all this time about, were the Harappans, the people of the Indus Valley civilization, were they Aryans, or were they Dravidians, or who are they? Are they Indians? Are they from somewhere else? And the problem is, it was very difficult to tell, because Indians have always been very bad at recording our own history. It's not an accident; it's actually deliberate, and it's a consequence of Brahmanism, because the Brahmins, they didn't want to share their knowledge, So they decided to keep it to themselves, and the way to do that is to not write anything down. Unfortunately, this is a irreducible, unfortunate aspect of our history. So lots of things are unknown to us, even about our own history. What has happened over the last 10 years is people have been able to take DNA samples from bones that they found in Harappa, which is or somewhere in Indus Valley, somewhere in Pakistan today. And the difference between the ability now, so what happens when you look at DNA from something that's 5,000 years old? Most of it is destroyed by heat, and so you won't have any sequences of genes that are clean enough to actually there's just noise. If you like, the data has been corrupted. So what has happened in the last 10 years is that we have developed statistical tools that are able to reconstruct parts of the DNA that are missing using appropriate priors, okay, assumptions. And this is a type of Bayesian inference. I'm using the word Bayesian inference because we are going to be learning about Bayesian inference in the next few lectures. That has allowed them to actually determine that, in fact, the people of the Indus Valley are indeed native to India, that you and I share 90% of our genes with them. And it really put some interesting questions on answers on questions that were quite controversial at one point. And so the power of our science, of our ability to say something concrete, has really happened because of applying data science to a field that's been around for 20 years. And so bioinformatics is bioinformatics is essentially the application of data science to biology, and to pharmacy, into medicine. So the skills that you will pick up in this course are easily translatable. You see, the way to think about what you're learning is we're teaching you how to use tools like hammers and nails and saws. You can use that to go and build a house. You can go and use that to build a boat. You can go and use that to build a car. It's up to you what you decide to do with it. Of course, it's nice to have applications in mind as we learn these things. But the applications are really vast. And so this is so let me put it another way, right? So you see, one of the things people like Ramiz and I have is confidence. Why do we have confidence? Is because we have been trained in a very particular way mathematically for many, many years. Okay, so we're both past our PhDs, and what we're trying to do is we want to try and pass on some of that confidence to you, because it's not that you have to learn different subjects and become good at different things. What you have to learn is the art of how to think and how to attack problems. And this is something that we're going to try and share, right? And this is how I believe this education should proceed in general, right? It should be empowering. And the techniques that we're going to be passing on and you'll be learning is not just a formalism. It's going to be about how to think about things, when to use things, and hopefully packaged in a way that you will realize that you can use it in anything. And what we'd really like for you at the end is if you go away and you do something that even we don't know how to do, because there's lots of things we don't know how to do. So we expect this, right? So it's just a basic set of tools. You can apply them to economics. You can apply them to finance. Okay, I think a lot of people end up going to work in to work on many different. You can apply to working in a bank. You could apply to working in a pharmaceutical company. You could go work for the government. You could go work for some government ministry. You could go work for a startup. I think what will happen is, maybe somebody in some company will be like, we have this problem. We don't know how to make sense of this. Then you can come along and be like, I know what's happening. You organize things and you tell them how to structure their business, or to structure their supply line, or structure their metrics on their website, and so on and so forth. So it's a very versatile way of thinking about large sets of numbers. So indeed, I think if you're interested in biology, biotechnology, then this is, there's lots you can do with it. But there's lots more that you may not have thought a possibility, we would like to sort of open doors and invite you to thinking about other things as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So Vishwabhushan, can you please unmute and tell us a little bit about yourself? So you're unmuted, Vishwabhushan. You're unmuted, but I can't hear you. So Vishwabhushan, are you there? Okay, if we can come back if you're having some trouble. So we can't hear you, unfortunately, but maybe you can, if we can come back to you. So Nilesh, can you unmute yourself, Nilesh, and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Nilesh here. Hello.
Hello, yes, we can hear you.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah, Nilesh here.
Yes.
Sir, I'm purely from social sciences background. Yes, I can. Hello.
Hi, Nilesh. We can hear you. Please just tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sir. So I did my master's in social work and MPhil in social work and PhD in social work. So from social sciences background, I just want to get familiarized with concepts of how it can help me now. How it can help me now. So I'm getting familiarized with the steps. The last lecture and today's lecture. So I work with Digital Nalanda. I want to understand that how this course will help me with our students and working with our students.
Yeah. So I mean, so social sciences is a big collection of subjects, but I think the way that data science can help you is if you're interested in collecting information about something by, let's say, doing surveys or collecting data about certain aspects of the population. This course will help you make sense of that data. It will help you manipulate the data. It'll help you present information graphically or and so it'll help you it'll be another tool in your toolbox is how we envisage this. Of course, depending on what precisely you're interested, which social science you're interested in, you need a lot of other skills other than data science to do your job well. But this will hopefully provide you with another tool.
Thank you, Dr. Subodh.
Okay, so we have a question. So Vishwabhushan's mic is not working. But yeah, so please, if you're having trouble connecting with your microphone, please just type in your question. So Vishwabhushan's question is, which programming language is easy? So Ramiz, maybe you can give your opinion on this.
So programming languages, a programming language gets you to, because it's not very straightforward to say which programming language is easy. That question has to be, qualified with things. So a programming language is a way of getting your computer to do things for you. And for data analysis, the most commonly used ones are R, Python, MATLAB to some extent. And also, for example, people who use Excel to do a lot of their data analysis, which is basically almost all the consultants I know who are paid lakhs per month for it. They use Excel, which is, you can think of it as one of the simplest tools. It has a programming language within it called Visual Basic for Applications, VBA. And so these are the ones that most people use for data analysis. There is also something called Stata, for us physicists, and sometimes I've seen that also biology people, etc., use it. There is a tool written in C++, which will let you run all of C++ in it, called root. It's written by CERN. So CERN/root, if you just search this in Google, you'll find it. And that basically has C++ as its, you're basically doing C++ when you use it for data analysis. So I would say C++ is also used for data analysis. So if you now ask me what is easy, the easiest to pick up if you have no programming background would be Python, because it reads almost like an English language sentence, right? But it is not necessarily the fastest or the best unless if you know how to learn the correct techniques. Unless if you know the correct techniques within Python for getting things done. So there is a lot more detail to that, but maybe that is sufficient to answer your question. Like if someone came and told me they have no programming background and they want to pick up data science, I would say the language you should learn is Python. Also because that is the one I know how to teach properly compared to the others. Is that a clear enough answer for you?
So yes, so Vishwabhushan's microphone is not working.
So he has said yes, sir.
Okay, so we've gone around. Is there anybody we've forgotten? I think we've heard from everybody. So we're just at the beginning, and I think apologies that the course website is still a work in progress. We will put up many more online resources and additional things you could look up if you're interested in maybe more sort of general interest, even articles in the news, just to just anything that we think is worth sharing. I think what we'll do on the website is we'll along with the lectures and the problem sets and exercises with every lecture, we'll have a resource link where we can look up different resources, and then maybe even something like a coffee table where we just put in interesting articles. Yes, so we're getting comments for introductory articles. The problem for us is that a lot of the concepts we're introducing are actually quite advanced that you may not necessarily find in an introductory article. Because remember, we are teaching many subjects at once, right? And so at the beginning, we're teaching statistics, and we're using applications, and we're really teaching statistical inference at the beginning, and then we're going to move very quickly into real world. We're teaching statistics and statistical inference via examples. And so the problem with a lot of lectures that we've seen so far is either they're too basic or they're too advanced. There's no in between. So we don't want to overwhelm you with resources that are going to be more of a distraction than not. It could be that we are forced to write our own lecture notes then in that case, which we will do if necessary. But we will try as much as possible to maybe curate the information out there in small little links to little articles that can go into more details about some of the specifics that we've discussed. But yes, I think as this course develops, more and more resources will be available on the website, and I think many of you seem to already have quite a strong technical background. Some of you may not, so particularly those that come not from a scientific line, maybe from a more social sciences line. And so you are essentially our target audience for this introductory set of lectures, which is to get you into that mode of thinking, and to teach you some of the basic mathematics and the formalism you'll need to be able to do data science. And I think you should always view this course, and I like that some of the questions are of this nature, is what will this do for me? That's exactly how you should be approaching this course. Is this teaching me something I need? So that's up to you then to filter the information that we're providing and take what you need. So some of the stuff, because we want to be complete, will be quite advanced, but it might be that it's not necessary for you to learn. But I think if you are aware of it, it's always good to know as much as possible, even if you think that there's no conceivable way of applying it to the problems that you're interested in. By being aware of them, maybe you'll find a way, and maybe you'll come up with a new novel way, a new solution to, or a new way of looking at information that people have been looking at. And I think one of the main things that you'll come across in the social sciences, even in medicine, is this old problem of correlation and causation, right? Sometimes you'll look up, you'll see things that are correlated. You'll see things like, the government, decides to enact some policy, and then something happens, and then you might be tempted to conclude that this is a consequence of the policy, but it could be more complicated. It could be that there's an actual underlying common cause. And so this is something that happens all the time in social sciences and economics. And so one of the things we'll do is we'll try and help you, we'll give you the tools to maybe allow you to understand and think about it and be familiar with these concepts. So we have a question again from Vibhushan, which is asking, is there any use of data science in data mining and data warehouse? The short answer is, of course, right? The putting in a search result into Google and getting an answer is very much reliant on techniques from data science. So the answer is 100%. In fact, I mean, there are technical things to do with storing data that's got nothing to do with data science. That's just IT. But there is a lot of data science involved in making data accessible and usable. So what are the results? What are the search results that, let's say, a search engine gives you if you ask it a certain query? This is very much reliant on things that build up on. I mean, it is data science. It is possibly the most widely used application of it. So we seem to have a new student logging in. So maybe if you, because we're just going around and introducing ourselves. So Aniket, well, we have two Anikets actually. Aniket Ashok and Aniket Sonwane. So we're interested in learning, finding out who you are and why you're interested in this course. So Aniket Sonwane, if you could unmute your microphone and just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in this course. So Aniket, if you're there, yes.
No, sorry.
Yes, hello.
जी, एक मिनट. I think sorry,
I think there's some trouble with the connection.
no.
Please, Aniket, please tell us. Unfortunately, you're muted, Aniket. Okay. Unfortunately, we're also running out of time. I have another class to attend to, but maybe just before we go, we have one more question from Harshal, which is, does data science play a major role in cloud computing? Ramiz, do you know anything about that?
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. Cloud computing is basically due to the fact that nowadays internet bandwidths are very high. Many aspects of having to maintain your own hardware, for example, you want to have a big computer, etc., you can just buy that equally on Amazon. So yes, they have to use data science to estimate the demand, to make sure the resources are allocated, etc. So it's a very broad question of what aspect of cloud computing you're talking about. If you're talking about from a point of view of using a cloud to get something you want done, unless if what you want done has something to do with data science, it has nothing to do with data science. But if you're on the other hand thinking about, do you want to work for a cloud computing provider like Azure or Amazon Web Services or who are the other providers like Sprinklr or one of these companies? It again depends on your role. If you're an IT guy, you'll be taking care of hardware, how to standardize components, that sort of thing. If you're a software guy, maybe you'll be working on virtual machines, making sure any kind of platform can be run on any kind of hardware. But there'll also be other people whose job is to, keep track of everything, because they'll then have a large number of machines, large number of processes they have to handle, and that involves data science. So does that answer your question?
Okay, so this is we've run out of time for this week's Q&A session. So we have another lecture on Monday. I will be completing the introduction. Well, I'll be completing some basic introduction to some concepts through the example of the current pandemic. And so we just began. We ended last week. So please look at the slides from last week if you haven't already, or this Monday. We will pick, and so we left off at just introducing Bayes' theorem. We will pick up next week and apply Bayes' theorem to things like testing and how to estimate how much of the population has COVID. And I hope you'll learn some very interesting things. Certainly I did when I first came across it at the beginning of this pandemic. It's a fascinating subject. So let's pick up on Monday. There'll be another Q&A session every week. I myself, I'm personally also looking forward to Ramiz's lectures 2 weeks from now on fraud detection. I hope this is something that you will find interesting as well. But aside from that, everybody, I think it's time to end this Q&A session. So thank you very much. It was very nice meeting you. I hope to get to know you much better over the weeks ahead. So thank you, everybody. Jai Bhim.
Jai Bhim, sir. Thank you so much. So far, we received 35 applications for this course, and I hope so. From next week, we'll have our Google Classroom.
Fantastic.
So Anup sir will coordinate with you, and he'll send everything, all the applications to you. So
Okay.
thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.